right, everybody. I've got another very special guest for y'all this week. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Nandor Fox Shaffer. Welcome, Nandor.
Hey, Chris. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to meet you and to be able to talk with you today.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. It's always great to know that people want to come on and talk. So it makes me feel good at the end of a long week. So, uh, it's your first time in the show, so I think we got to start you off with that annoying task. I just want to know kind of your background, what got you into comics, what point did you start making these things, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, happy to talk about it. I mean, comics for me, it's always been a part of my everyday, at least since I was a young kid, like enjoying superhero comics in particular. I grew up watching a lot of the Marvel films and TV shows, and DC as well, and playing like some of the Marvel and DC video games growing up, and just loving these characters and loving these worlds. And when I graduated high school, I was like 17, about to turn 18, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do. What kind of career did I want to have? And I was really interested in pursuing, a career in English or, a creative writing, something like that. And before I took the leap into college, I thought, well, let me try. Like, I want to write comics. I love comics so much. I want to see if I could create a comic, and what would that look like, and what would it be? And I was just curious. If I could do it and if I could do it well. And that led to Seasons, which is my first project. And so I was working on that. And then as I was going through college and writing and trying to finish the story and kind of investigating what it means to be an indie comic creator, and where to find readers, where to find a fan base, all those things I was thinking about as I was making the book. Because like the goal is, once you make it, once you start making something, you want to share it with people. And so that that was like okay, if I make this thing, how do I get people to read it? How do I get people to see it? And so from then on, I started working with artists and writing different stories, and for the last 7-8 years, I've been making comics. So it's been a passion of mine, a dream of mine, to be able to write full time, to be a full time comic book creator. And that dream really started, like I said, when I was about 17 years old.
So I got to ask, because I think this will place you generationally for me without giving your age. What are those shows that you were growing up watching?
Yeah, so I was watching like X-Men Evolution in the early 2000s, and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films and the Fox X-Men movies. And I was right, like I think I was like 10 or 11 when the first Iron Man came out. So like for me, the MCU, I felt like the MCU was kind of made for me. It was made for my generation, and it opened up the doorway to wanting to learn more about these characters. But even before the MCU, I started reading comics, and I remember picking up Wizard magazine, at my local Barnes and Noble, or whatever store I could find that had magazines, and always looking for like something that had commentary on comics, and like, where should I start with comics? And because this was kind of still before, like, I didn't have internet when I was a kid for most of my life. So like I really didn't have like forums or message boards, or ways that I could connect with others. And reading magazines like Wizard was like a way I could kind of get a peek behind the curtain of like how these things are made, and what people are talking about, and what people are excited about. And so all of that was very instrumental in kind of helping me get a grasp on like, what is this industry, and how do people do this stuff.
So I'm gonna guess I've got about 10 years on you because I grew up watching like Batman the Animated Series, X-Men
Yeah.
'92, stuff like that. I didn't get to. I watched X-Men Evolution. I do enjoy that show, but I was probably too old to be watching it, if we're being honest.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're never too old. Like there are some, animated shows today, that I check out, and I'm like, man, like I'm so upset I never watched this, or like I still enjoy it, and I do remember watching X-Men 97, or like the 90s, the original, not the new one.
Yeah, '92.
Yeah,
What we
92.
now refer to as '92.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And like I do remember catching that. I remember finding the old 90s Iron Man series like on DVD, and like watching that. And
The
so
Fantastic Four one is a trip.
yeah,
It was one season, but it's a trip.
yeah. And so I would find these things at like thrift stores, or rental stores or whatever, during that time, and try to just find anything that I could, check out anything that I could. I remember there was like a early 2000s or late 90s Hulk, Incredible Hulk series. So yeah, a lot of those animated shows were very exciting for me, and were a great like kind of gateway into the live action stuff, and then like I said, the video games and whatnot.
Yeah, that's why I always feel like nowadays we get a lot of animated shows and animated movies and so on and so on, but they seem
Yeah.
geared towards us, the adults.
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, I grew up. Batman the Animated Series is like this legendary animated show that I'm sure you've watched, but like
Oh,
we've all
yes.
watched.
Yeah.
Like my generation grew up on, and it was a kid show that didn't talk down to us. And like I don't understand why we can't do that today. Like
Yeah.
I just feel like we don't have that show in the comic space anymore.
Everything feels so extreme. Like it's either made for like toddlers, or for like that age range for like a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old or whatever, and to like 13 or 14 is kind of hard to come by. And what got me into the Batman animated series was Batman Beyond, and that came after. So Terry McGinnis and all of that, and like an old Bruce Wayne, like for me that was so like that was an introduction to Batman for me, and like getting in on the ground floor of this new Batman. And to this day that show is still one of my all-time favorites. So I love that show so much.
Yeah, I remember that series, animated series, evolved multiple times, and it got to a point where it was no longer kind of what it was at its core, because they kept trying to reinvent it. But when they brought it back as Beyond, and it was that somewhat original art style, but still the cast and everything, you're introducing this new character, and there's always something. I think it's kind of universal for, at least for me. Maybe some people disagree with this, but I always think it's universal to have like the teenage superhero. Like I think that's why people loved Nightwing and Spider-Man, and why Miles kind of picked up heat recently, because
Yeah.
he's now the teenage Spider-Man. And to have a teenager be Batman and deal with like teenage things while trying to at night fight the Joker,
Yeah.
it was such a cool idea. And to this day, I just sit back, and whenever I'm like looking for DC news, there's a part of me it's like, man, new Batman Beyond thing, please.
Yeah, me too. And like I'm so excited. I think the first issue just came out this week of this recording, but it's the Static Beyond, like the Static Shock Batman Beyond issue that just came out from DC. And Static Shock was also a show that I checked out at the time and really enjoyed. And so like to see those characters interacting with each other in comics, is like almost like I think it's like a futuristic, like them older interacting with each other in this new comic series.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, oh man, like this is so cool. Like this reminds me of why I fell in love with these characters and these stories in the first place.
Yeah. That was announced, and I'm not the biggest Static Shock fan. Like I didn't really dig that show as much growing up, but I I'm gonna buy anything Beyond. So
Yeah,
mix them up
yeah.
with anybody, and I'm there. So I was thinking about it after it was announced. I'm like, this is their chance to like show me why I should love Static Shock and kind of
Hmm.
pull me into that. So I'm interested to see what that issue's all about. I wonder if that can. I didn't go to the comic shop this week. Everybody, yeah, I've become the comic host. I used to read comics like crazy. Now I'm the comics host who doesn't read comics anymore. But
Yeah,
joking a little bit, but I don't read nearly as much as I used to. So I go every other week now. But yeah, I'm
I'm
excited for that
just,
book.
I'm just catching up with the Deadpool Batman Marvel DC crossover. I picked it up, a month ago. And I just got around to reading it, and like it takes a lot of time, to get through certain issues and to get to a certain point. And if you don't read it and they keep coming out, you have to read, you have to keep up with them, and so the more you don't read, the higher the stack grows.
Exactly. And you caught up just in time for this week. I believe it's this week that Batman Deadpool comes out from DC. So
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait. I really, I was a bit, I mean, not to go off, on a sub tangent here, but like I was really excited about this, but I was also a bit worried because I thought that like Deadpool and Batman, while they are the hottest characters right now for each brand, it wasn't. I'm not like the biggest fan of both of those characters. So like for me, it didn't grab me. Like I was more excited to read the Daredevil Green Arrow story, from
yes,
Kevin Smith. And so like that was the thing that made me really want to purchase it. Not because I don't like the other creators or the characters, but like there are certain team ups that you want to see, and certain characters interact that you want to see. And Deadpool and Batman wasn't necessarily at the top of my list, but I did really enjoy the story, and I can't wait to see what Grant Morrison does. So with this next one,
I'm with you because I'm still am a huge Kevin Smith fan, but I Batman always has a place in my heart. Like we talked about the
yeah,
animated series for a while there, so I've kept up with a lot of Batman stuff. I enjoy that character. Deadpool, on the other hand, I could care like they could just stop,
right,
and I'm good.
yeah,
I know
like
I'm
he's
in the minority here,
everywhere,
but for me it was like, man, I remember it for decades now. We've been talking about at the comic shop, like when they're going to do a Marvel DC crossover again. And I was the guy in the corner being like, it's not going to happen, guys. It's Warner and Disney. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
And I'm so happy to be wrong about that. But just the fact that it's happening, I'm like, I'm gonna support this just because it's like it's there. But then they
yeah.
announced that Grant Morrison's writing the DC one, and I'm just sitting back going, I'm morbidly curious what a Deadpool written by Grant Morrison is.
Yeah, like that is something I would pay to see, like how fourth new gods, wink there, but fourth wall breaking can Grant Morrison get, with this character, because both the character and he himself as a writer are known to do so. So to marry them together is going to be really really neat to see, and to see Grant come back for Batman. Because his run on Batman was so influential, and he really took a lot of time with the character. So yeah, it'll be great. And Dan Mora, I mean, you can't beat him. So yeah,
Yeah, all three of him. He probably don't listen to
yeah,
the show, but we joke in the show that he's cloned himself because there's no way. The dude does way too much, and it's all some of the best. Like it's either the best or some of the best art in the industry
yeah.
right now. And I'm like, I don't get how you do it. I think there's a cloning machine somewhere, and there's 3 or 4 Dan Moras hanging around. But
Like Marvel has one, DC has one, and then Skybound has one.
and I just found out because he jumped on the scene with DC, and that specifically the World's Finest book is when I think everybody really started to pay attention to him.
Yeah,
And I was looking back, I'm like, that dude was in the Power Ranger grind for a while. Like he was doing Power Ranger books at Boom. Everybody, I just
yeah,
found that out recently.
yeah.
It's insane. So going through all that, it's obvious that you love comics and you want to be a part of this. So I love to hear it. I want to kind of start, even though Seasons was your first thing, and that's the thing we're really here to talk about. You also have this book, Man Child. And when I was kind of looking through, obviously the first thing that, don't judge a book by its cover, but we're going to do it. And I see the cover for, I believe, issue 3, because it's on the 1 through 3 page that you did a little while back. I think you funded
Yeah.
last year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it it gives off a Venture Brothers vibe just from that cover, just because I just think of the Monarch right off the
Yeah.
bat.
Yeah.
But first, I'd love to hear, what is this book all about? Like 3 issues? Are there more coming? Kind of what's this one all about?
Yeah. So yeah, Manchild was a series that I started in 2021, I believe. And it was it was actually inspired by the death of Stan Lee. After he passed away, I kind of wanted to explore, like I went down the rabbit trail of trying to explore Stan Lee's life and the origins of Marvel Comics and the Stan Lee versus Jack Kirby, controversy about like who created who. Like I was really interested in kind of figuring all of these things out and seeing how I could maybe capture whatever they were able to capture back in the 60s with their superhero characters. And so Manchild started there, and it evolved into this kind of larger narrative, almost a meta narrative on the what I like to say are the joys and pitfalls of escapism. So this series is a book, a story about the Monarch Crier, who is this Silver Age inspired superhero character, and Rufus Boston, who is a regular comic book nerd who lives in the real world. And so like you're reading two stories simultaneously, one taking place in the Silver Age inspired universe and one taking place in our reality, so to speak. And the mystery behind the series is how these two worlds collide and what their connection is. And so it's kind of a commentary on escapism and the kind of taking the condescending phrase of Manchild and trying to examine it from a new point of view, like a more modern point of view, because pop culture has really embraced the nerds, like everyone loves Marvel, everyone loves DC, everyone wants to like talk about these movies, and pop culture has really evolved and changed, and there's been this acceptance of being a child at heart. And so I wanted to explore that idea and look at it through, because I, with all the research I was doing about Stan Lee and his life and him making comics, he was always looked down upon as not a real writer. And comic book writers are seen, or were seen at least through a lot of his life, as kind of like a second class writer, like not really someone to take seriously. And so with how much these characters have been synonymous with people, changing their lives and being better people, and a lot of everyday citizens look to these heroes as these moral compasses now. And so that idea and those themes were very important for me, and I wanted to see if I could write a story about that. And so that's the long-winded story about how that series came to be. And I've heard the Venture Brothers comparison a few times, which is really interesting because I've never watched it. But I thought hey, it'll help with getting people maybe interested.
I think it just comes from, as soon as you see the page, you see that one cover, and we'll get to how you got that cover in a second, because it's a Steve Epting cover of the character.
Yeah.
And it has, other than the mat, I mean, there's definitely differences. It's not like it's a copy paste. I'm not accusing you of that or anything, but
Oh yeah,
there's
I
a lot of
gotcha.
similarities to the character of the Monarch in that. which is the big supervillain in the Venture Brothers show.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you've never watched it. Maybe when you're done with this series, so you can keep saying that, but you should
Yeah.
watch it. It's definitely something up your alley. But,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
but
like it would be something I'd enjoy.
yeah, it does go off those vibes. I like the idea of what you're talking about because yeah, it's. I mean, people can get into the argument of Stan Lee versus Kirby versus whoever, but
Yeah.
I've always said like at the end of the day, every person has their faults, and Stan Lee definitely had plenty of them. But you can't take away that man changed pop culture, and
Yeah.
he was not given credit until he was basically on his deathbed. Like within his last 10, 15 years, he finally started to see the fame. And talking of Kevin Smith earlier, you can go back to things that Kevin said back when he was putting Stan in movies before anyone else even cared
Yeah.
who he was.
Right.
But that idea of, because I've always been kind of a man child, if you will. Like,
Yeah. Same.
There was always the
I'm
joke in growing up, and even to this day, you talk to people who play. Like one of my favorite video game series of all time is Pokemon. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. There's a Pokemon trainer on this desk right now, but and I'm almost 40, so. But
Yeah.
everybody I talk to is like, yeah, and then at this point in my life, I stopped playing because I wanted to talk to girls, and I was like, yeah, good for you. Like I did both.
Yeah, I found a girl who loved Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like yeah. And that's I felt like I was in a good position to write about a story like this because I'm getting in my late 20s and I'm going to be 30 in a few years, and I was thinking about this because I see my friends doing this. I see people my age doing this who. And I've heard stories throughout the years of people who had to leave comics for a while because they had to grow up, or be a man, or whatever that means. It's like, and I understand what people are saying, but myself, my personal opinion is like these things are what have shaped me, to the person that I am, and I enjoy these things so much that I don't feel like I should have to abandon them to be like, because they're just a part of me. Like I don't know how to separate myself from comics, and it's maybe it's different because I make them now and not just being a fan, but even as a fan, like what I love about them so much, and what I want to I want to share these things with people. I don't want to make people feel ashamed or bad about loving what they love, and so there's a tension in the series because you're diving deep into the superhero world and you are escaping, and then you'll turn the page and you're back to reality, even though you're still reading a comic, and it's a meta it's a meta narrative way to try to get the reader to look at what they're doing and go, well, I'm reading about this guy who loves comics, but he's kind of struggling to get his life together, and he is a bit stunted, but like he shouldn't have to abandon what he loves. Like this is who he is, and this is what he wants to do. So I find all of that to be just such a very relevant part of the conversation, and what we the nerds won at the end of the day. Like we were always kind of shunned, and we're not as cool as the other kids, and all these things, and now it's like, well, look what's making all the money, at the box office, and everyone's wearing Superman t-shirts, and Superman is a punk rocker now, like all these things are a part of the culture now, and infused within it, that to separate people from it, it just wouldn't be the same anymore.
Yeah, I always say, love or hate him, Zuckerberg's one of like nerdiest people I've ever seen, and he runs the world. We definitely won.
Definitely.
No, and looking through, I love the aesthetic of the book. Like you've got all of your A covers have that golden age like style to them. Especially, I'm on the issue 3 page right now, and just like you have the new villains on there, and it's like, and now the sadistic six, and you have the
Yeah.
Comics Code Authority on there and everything, and that's really cool. But what I really want to talk about, because you've got a ton of really cool variant covers for this. One by one of my favorite artists in the scene right now, Benjamin Morris. I mean, shout out to him. But
Oh, I love Ben. Yeah.
Ben's a great dude. I
And that's
gotta
a
say,
gatefold cover. So like it folds out. So it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I'll have to like send you a picture, but it's amazing what he was able to do with that.
well, let me actually interject there. Was that hard to like get printed and done? Like, how was the
Yeah.
logistics on that one?
It was like so I will say I did my research and I reached out to my printer before I hired Ben to do it because I knew I wanted to work with Ben on a cover for this book in particular because he loves the series and I love what he's doing with We Are Scarlet Twilight and August and all the stuff that he's working on. And so like I knew I wanted to work with him and we were trying to think of different ideas and I was like, okay, I have, I love Jim Lee's X-Men #1. I love that gatefold cover that they did. And I was like, maybe if we did something like that, and Ben was really stoked about the idea. So I was like, okay, well, let me check with my printer and see like if that's possible and if we'd be able to do it. And, I sent them the specs and examples of what we were thinking about doing. And they said, yeah, we could definitely do it and definitely print it. And so, that was a conversation I had a long time ago. And then as we finally got the campaign done and the book done and everything, I was like crossing my fingers, hoping like, you guys said you could do this. So please, I hope you guys, can keep your word and we can still do this. And man, it turned out perfect. It was just like, it's such a beautiful cover. And when I got it, got to hold it in my hands, it was just like insane to see it all come together like that.
That's really cool. Yeah. So I got to know, and let me take some notes while you answer this question too. How does one get a hold of Steve Epting? And how did you get in contact with Steve Epting and be like, hey, do you want to do a cover for this book I'm doing? Like, how does that come about? Because that's, I mean, anyone doesn't know, and shame on you for not knowing, but Steve Epting did an amazing run with Ed Brubaker and Captain America. They also worked together on one of my favorite books of all time, Velvet.
Yes.
The dude's a fucking rock star. So how did that come about?
So yeah, Steve Epting is my favorite artist of all time. Like he's the cream of the crop for me. The Captain America run that he and Ed Brubaker did was kind of how I really got into comics. Like that was a huge part of me finding a story that connected with me in a way that other characters just weren't at the time. And it was like, the death of Captain America and Winter Soldier and Bucky becoming Captain America, like all of that stuff was so exciting. And I love Steve's work so much. Like his art just grabbed me and some of his covers that he did, because he did most of the covers on the entire series and he did a lot of the interiors, I'd probably say like 80 to 90%. So, I mean, he was working on that book consistently. And every time I picked up an issue, it was like the book that I wanted the most every month. And so I had this pie in the sky. Like I was like, man, like it would be a dream of mine to be able to work with Steve, like that's that I would feel like I hit the pinnacle of what it means to be a comic book creator and to be able to work with a professional like him. And we've engaged on social media just a little bit here and there over the years. And I'd always, comment and like his posts and all of his updates that he'd have. And it was kind of just one of those Hail Mary passes where I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I have this story, this book. I have the first 2 issues out, and I sent him the first 2 issues. And I didn't know if he would, see the email or reach out or anything like that if he'd get back with me. But he was in between contracts at the time that I had reached out with to him, and so like it was just like it just worked out in a way that I can't. It was like a miracle. Like he was like, actually, I'm in a place where I could do something like this right now, and I really love the character, and I love the story and what how it looks, how the book looks, and I'd love to be a part of it. So it was a miracle.
That's amazing. I kind of tell the same thing to people who want to get into what I'm doing in podcasting with comics.
Yeah.
But this works for any field, I feel like, but I can only speak to comics because that's what I've been doing for 10 plus years. But yeah, just sending an email, like reaching out. Either they don't answer or they say, "Hey, I'm busy."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you get lucky. And I was a nobody, and Colin Bunn and so many other creators were like, "Yeah, I'll come on your show." And I'm like, all right.
Like, no, I didn't
Googling
expect
how do
you
I
to
do
say
interviews.
yes. Yeah, like, and that was the thing. Like, when I got the email back, I was expecting the, "Hey, I appreciate it, but I'm busy." But it was a yes, and it was like an enthusiastic yes of like, let's do it. And he was so generous, and like we would go back and forth with ideas, and he would send me layouts, and he was sending me progress updates, and I was just like, is this really happening? Like I don't have like no notes, like I don't have any notes for you, Steve. Like this is perfect, like whatever you want to do. And I just sent him some comps of his cover recently, and so I'm hoping he'll get those soon. But yeah, it's been amazing to like befriend him and interact with him. And I do agree with you that I think you have to shoot your shot, and like just reach out to people and see what happens, and I've gotten a lot of I've had a lot of success in that regard, because I've been able to work with artists like Steve and Nick Pitara and Tom Riley and Flops and a lot of amazing other cover artists in the industry. And all it took was just asking and seeing what they say. Just, you got to be nice about it. You got to be polite about it. And also, share like what you have, like if you have a book, like send them the book or send them images, like pitch it to them, in a way, and let them know why specifically you think, they would fit with what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And in your case, I would assume be honest with them about the budget of the book.
Oh yeah,
because I'm sure some of them, they come back and you're like, yeah, it's a little out of my budget, man.
Yeah, and Steve was incredibly kind to me, and all the artists that I've hired and worked with, they're always conscientious of that, because they know they understand what it's like, because they've always had, everyone's had their first comic that they've worked on, and where it was like there's not a lot of money here, so how do I do this? But like I want to be a part of this, and so yeah, I've never had a bad interaction with like a mainstream artist that I've worked with.
No, I've said probably 100 times now, but we've done over 500 interviews at this point, and I could give you one bad interaction I've had, and I won't give a name, mostly because I can't remember his name. But I think that's a good batting average, personally.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap up the man-child discussion, it seems like you got it printed recently and it's been sent out and everything. So I'm assuming, is that book still going on, or was that a 3-issue series? Like, what's kind of the future of that one?
Yeah, it's going to be 6 issues. So we're halfway done with the series so far, and I hope to do another Kickstarter campaign for issue 4 in 2026 at some point. And if I could, if possible, I'd like to wrap up the series, either next year or the year after. But we'll see. I've been juggling, a lot of different projects, and as we were talking about, comics are not they're not cheap to make, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work and a lot of promotion and a lot of time to be able to um, allocate to all of these different things that you want to get done. But yes, there'll be 3 more issues.
Very cool. Yeah, that sounds like a really cool book that everybody should check out. So, but what you have going on right now is that book you said kind of early on in our conversation here. That was your first thing you worked on, which was Seasons.
Yeah,
So, to kind of give us a place to start, what is Seasons all about?
for sure. So Seasons is a planned 4-volume graphic novel series about a young man whose abilities change with every passing season. It is a supernatural, grounded superhero. I hesitate to use the word superhero because of the connotation that might take, but like it's not a traditional superhero story. It's James O'Barr's The Crow meets M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable. If that helps to like give it some better context, but
More real world superheroing, not as much tights and flights.
of course, yeah, definitely. So, like Fletcher is the main character, and it's this 1 year story that shows him take on these different entities and obstacles in his way that he has to overcome and defeat. So, like with each book is its own story, but all 4 volumes tell one larger story. And like I said, it's a 1 year journey. So we start in spring, volume 1 spring, volume 2 summer, and then we'll have fall and winter. And the goal of the series and the main hook of it is to not only show Fletcher do all these incredible things and take on all of these different enemies, but it's a story about evolution and kind of about rebirth and change. It really is. It's in the title. It's like seasons. We go through different seasons in our lives, different seasons of the year, and Fletcher is having to discover the person he was always meant to be, and this 1 year is going to be the year that defines him.
And I'm noticing, I was going through your older stuff, and I noticed that you had previously kickstarted these 2 individually.
Yeah.
Under a very different trade dress look. It looks like almost a hardcover, where this might be a trade paperback. You can correct me there if I'm wrong.
Correct. Yeah. So the first 2 volumes were these limited release, like exclusive, like collector's editions of volumes 1 and 2 that were these hardcovers, and they were very deluxe and really special. And we wanted to kind of have like a coffee table book almost that you could have on your shelf, just something really snazzy, and like you could have right there. So this is the first time the series has been collected at a more affordable trade paperback format.
Okay, so that kind of answers the question I was going to go for, which was, why go for another Kickstarter? It sounds like going to trade paperback, maybe a little more affordable, a little more mass market and everything. But
Yes.
what I will say is the difference between the 2, I think you described it perfectly. When I was looking at the original Kickstarters, they did look kind of boutique and very collectible, or put it on my bookshelf or coffee table, whatever you want to say. And that's not to take away from these. I actually love the trade dress you went with it, because it almost feels like what Ultimate Universe used to do, with that sidebar. And what makes it so great with that, and a bunch of companies done this, Vertigo's done it back in the 90s and so many others, but what's so great about it is you have all these alternate covers for the trades that, while so different, just fit with that trade dress so well. So I guess what I want to ask is, when you're designing the trade to be this more mass market thing, how much did you put into even something that may seem to everybody else a very simple trade dress
Yeah.
look?
Yeah. It it was something I was really debating for a while, and because I had I had these cover ideas and these artists that I wanted to work with, but I I didn't want them to have to necessarily work around a large logo, either on the bottom or the top of the page, and I wanted them to be able to use the entire canvas as much as possible. And so the idea of the sidebar for the title and to like that felt like a good compromise or a good way to negate having to worry about that. But also, I thought it would just look really, uh, you know, classy, like to have it there. And then with each, it's really important that the series, each volume, kind of have its own personality and its own color. And so like with volume 1, it's purple, and volume 2, it's red, and with volumes 3 and 4, there'll be different colors. And so like I thought the sidebar was a great way to accent that, because if I wanted each volume to keep that consistent color, that I didn't want the color to invade the cover artwork, so to speak. I wanted to keep them separate, and so that was the reasoning behind that.
And what I like about it too is it flows into the spine really well. So it almost looks like those old books where the spine, they have almost the leather over the spine that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
pops out of the cover. And with that, I mean, we get kind of a little glimpse of it in the Kickstarter page, but what did you do with the spine? Did you keep it really simple, decorate it a lot? Like, how does that look? Because I got to say, as a consumer more than a creator, I think the spine might be one of the most important things that creators don't think about, because
Yeah.
you can see behind me, that's all you see are spines. Like the
Yeah.
cover's cool and everything, but when people walk in this room with me, they stare at a bunch of spines. So, yeah, how much did you put into that for these?
Yeah, so I work closely with our designer Christian Dokolomansky, who has done a lot of my logo work for some of my other projects, and I knew I wanted to work with him on Seasons because previously it was just Anthony, the artist for the book, and I kind of doing the logo stuff for the hardcovers, and so I needed someone else's eye. I needed like a real designer's eye on how to make this look professional and look like a quality product. And for me, the design of a book is so important. I mean, I agree with you, like the way it is a cliche, but it's kind of a false cliche. Like, we do judge books by their cover, like it depends on the cover artwork and how it's presented in comics, especially. It's a visual, tactile thing that you're going to be holding. I mean, if you're a physical reader, I know a lot of people read digitally now, but like for me, I want the book to be portable and to look great and to look like like a special thing to have on my shelf, to be worthy to be put on my shelf. And so with the spine, it's pretty much going to be very simplistic, and it'll be like the what we have there for the side wall there, and it'll have our names, and it'll have the logo, the Foxhole Comics logo, but it'll be pretty much uniform to what we have.
Very cool. Oh, I'm glad to hear you put some thought into it, because I know a lot of people, I ask that question, they're like, "Oh, it's the name of the book. Like, what else would I put there?" I go,
Yeah.
go to a comic shop, like, or go to a Barnes and Noble.
Right.
Everything there, except for like the one that they paid a bunch of money to have their book turned so you can see the cover. That's all you see are spines. Everybody, like,
well, and with let me see here. So with the hardcovers, something that was really important for Anthony and I was like, with the spine, like we have the title, we have our names, but we had like, we're gonna have like a volume 1, like it'll say 1 on there, and then we'll probably have, like I said, the Foxhole Comics logo for my imprint. but something we do with the hardcover, the hardcovers was for each book there's like a different tree, and it represents a different season. So like as we go from one book to the next, the tree is going to change. So that like design motif is going to be alternating, and people will be able to see that with each volume. So we're still kind of figuring out how to do that for the trade paperback, but it's something that I'd like to keep like sequentially. I want you to hold all 4 volumes and see the progression, and see how the seasons change even on the cover.
Yeah, and it's something you said in there, like the fake or false cliche, and that false cliche is why I probably said it a million times on the show. We don't judge a book by its cover, but of course we do.
Yeah.
But also that's why I feel like the interior artist. I think this should be a rule in comics. The interior artist should be your cover A.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Agree.
Because of that reason, like I think the hardcore fan will buy the variants.
Mm-hmm.
But most people are going to buy the cover A, and you want them to see, or at least they're going to see the cover A one day when you make it in the comic shops. If you're not already, that's the one that the comic shop's going to order, more likely than not, and they want to see that, and then open the page and see that it's the same. Now, in terms of your book, it's a little different. We'll get into that, but I think that's a really important thing for comic creators to know, because it's when you get an Alex Ross cover and then you open the book and it's not Alex Ross. There's a bit of disappointment in your heart. Like there's a bit of that.
It's happened too many times. Yeah, I'm like, well, did Alex Ross work on this?
Yeah, like I'm a big Marvel fan. Trust me, I got a lot of Alex Ross covers. So
yeah,
but yeah, and that kind of goes into what I want to ask about next, which is you have the interior artist doing the covers, and your covers are all color, and you have these great color schemes for it and everything. You guys made a decision to go black and white with the book. I just want to know, I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of black and white. We all love The Walking Dead as just one, for instance. We can name a bunch, but what was the plan to always be black and white, or was this kind of something that came along the way because of whatever reason?
Yeah, it was, like when I met Anthony, when I saw his work, it was all black and white work like that he'd done. I really didn't see any of his work colored by other artists, and there was some. He is a great colorist. I mean, you can see on those covers that he knows what he's doing, and he's definitely gotten better over the years. But he's, he would say this primarily, he's an inker, a pencil inker, and that's his comfort zone. But so when I met him, I really loved what he could do with just black and white. There was like a raw quality to it. Sometimes, depending on the colorist, but I've seen like the inks of a book and then the colored page, and there have been times when I feel like the colors kind of ruin. Sometimes it can ruin the line art, and so like for this series in this book, we decided to go black and white because we didn't want to risk that happening, and also it's a lot more cost effective to do it that way too. Not only with the budget, but also the printing. Because if you print a colored book, a book with coloring, it doubles the cost, to make a book. And we were going to do these hardcover graphic novels, and it was like, whoa, like if we did that, like that would just, double or triple what it could originally be. And so it was because I felt that Anthony's art was so strong on its own as black and white, that I didn't feel like color was necessary. And I still think maybe one of these days, maybe if we do like an omnibus of all 4 volumes or something like that, we may go back and do like a colored version. But for the time being, Seasons to me in my portfolio and all the books I've worked on, it's the only black and white book that I have, and I kind of like it that way. I kind of like to keep it that way. There's like a special place for it. And I mentioned The Crow earlier, and that was such a powerful book and one of the best graphic novels I've ever read in my entire life. And that's a black and white story, and you don't need color. You don't need color in that book, and I feel the same way about Anthony's work.
Yeah, I just talked about this probably a month ago on the show, but I just read Vinland Saga. I don't know if you've ever read it,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
manga in general is black and white, almost
yes,
universally. This
yeah,
is some of the best art and some of the best comics I've ever read. Period. Doesn't
right,
matter.
right.
And it's black and white. Like it does. The art can still suck you in and like really give you a sense of the world in black and white. And I think your artist here does a great job. And the preview pages you show on the campaign
Thank you.
prove that.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and
sometimes
he's
black and white is the right choice. Is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
and Anthony, like he comes kind of from a school of more Eastern comics than Western. Like he loves manga so much, and he's actually a reason that I started reading manga because it wasn't really something that I was interested in. And then as we were working together on this series, he would show me like examples or things that he wants to do with a certain page, and he would always send me manga pages, and I was like, whoa, like he so a lot of his sensibilities when it comes to staging a scene and panel layouts and the detail of his work is highly influenced by a lot of manga titles like Vagabond and a lot of Urasawa stuff like Monster or Pluto, and a few other books that he really enjoys. But yeah, he's definitely he's bringing that to the table, and I feel like again, I almost feel like it worked in our favor to keep it black and white because of the how much manga has succeeded in the market and how many people are reading it. And so there's a part of me that would almost be hesitant to do any colors with seasons because I feel like it could bring that manga reader in that maybe normally wouldn't have picked it up.
Yeah, and you can tell through his influences. These pages have, while they have a very Western comics feel,
Yeah,
especially his fight sequences you can see on the page here, you can tell the man loves himself some
yeah,
Japanese comics. Like it's
yeah,
it's very evident, and it flows really well with what I can tell is what you got going on here. Especially, I mean, it looks like a double page spread here where
yes,
it almost looks like they're titans. I mean, that's how well he drew it, but it's just two
yeah,
people punching each other. It's just an amazing page. I strongly recommend people like comics are comics. We call them manga. They're Japanese comics.
yeah. They're
Like,
comics.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's a cultural difference there, and there definitely are times where I have to sneak it like from other people seeing it because there's things sometimes that make me a little uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie in certain
yeah.
books, but um, yeah, you'll find some that'll become some of your favorite. And I mean, Vinland Saga, I've said it on the show a couple times now, but I could give a shit less about Vikings, man. Like I'm not a big Viking bro or anything like that, but that's some
Yeah.
of the best storytelling I've
But
ever
you got the
seen.
beard for it, like
And yeah, just so is this going to be more of a standard size book then with all the manga talk here? Are we looking at a kind of a standard trade paperback size?
Yeah, so it'll be standard trade paperback size. I have definitely entertained the idea of doing like a manga sized or like how DC is doing the compact sizes now with their line. Like I've thought about uh, doing that with seasons, but that'll probably be in the future. I still really am kind of married to the regular standard comic book U.S. comic book size for now.
Yeah. I've seen even some indie creators going down that rabbit hole of the compact size, and I get it. Like that's what kids are reading now. Like that's what they're used
Yeah,
to. So if it gets kids to read, our side of the comic sphere, because I even tell my my significant other has kids, and they're both like comics, no manga, and I'm like, I gave them the same speech I just gave you. Like it's all comics, people, but
yeah,
it's the same thing. Like they kind of look down upon our side of the comic sphere. And I'm like, well, if I can
Yeah.
get them to maybe buy them a few of those compacts and show them that, like, no, this is just as sophisticated storytelling as that. Just, but anyways, it seems like, yeah, kids, that's what they're used to. So that's kind of what people are going for there.
Yeah, there was I did a video essay on my YouTube channel a year or two ago about manga and comics, and um the title of the video was "Manga is not comics," but if you watch the entire video, I kind of explain what I mean by that, and it's the cultural difference. You know, like when you walk into a comic book store, like, and you ask for comics, like the shop owner is going to think like comics. They're not going to think manga. So like it's semantics. You know, it's the way that we engage with the medium and in our tastes and stuff. But I remember there was a comment on the video that I thought was really interesting, because it was from the other side of things, where I'm coming from a more Western perspective. But this guy or girl wrote on there, yeah, we don't like calling manga comics because manga is far superior, you know. And I was like, okay, you know, so, because there you get a lot of people, you know, who in the States, you know, particularly, who think that Western comics are superior or whatever. Like, it's like, why do we have to play this game? Like they're all comics, like they're all legitimate ways to tell a story, and it's all sequential storytelling. But yeah, I do think that conversation is really fascinating. And you know, when I go to a Barnes and Noble or a comic store that does have manga, and I look in that section, I see younger readers there. You know, I always see younger readers there, and so I wish we could bring that to. I wish we could bring Western comics more to younger readers, and that's something that I hope we'll see, you know, continually as we go on.
Yeah, I think we can. It's all branding. I mean, I think we're trying gimmicks right now, but we're really branding. And the fact of the matter
the blind
is,
bag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, they don't want what me and you want, which is they don't want Batman, Spider-Man, and blah blah blah. When they eventually come, it'll be Saga. It'll be, you know,
Yeah.
Just name any independent book. That's what they want. They want kind of
Invincible, you know.
Yeah, storytelling that they can see as a beginning, middle, end, not something that's going to go on forever. That's not everybody, but you know, I'm making broad generalizations. But
Yeah.
I always kind of say, when people get all like I just said, you know, it's all comics, but I always say, and this kind of came about, not to get, we're not going to go political here, but this came about for me when we were talking about, as a culture, like, that America doesn't have a culture, or what is America's culture. And I always got mad at that, because of course we have a culture. Like, people need to get their heads out of their asses. But the one thing that popped up to me immediately, as somebody that loved comics, is a very American thing. Like, it was raised and born.
Comics and jazz. Yeah.
Yeah, like it came, like, that's one of the things that we can claim as our own. That like a lot of the other things we enjoy started elsewhere and eventually came here. Comics were, while it was, yes, I'll give the credit to the immigrants that were here and did it, like, but they came here and became Americans and made this American culture and art. And so at the end of the day, like, I take so much credit of it as an American, because I feel like it's such an American expression. Now, have Europe and Japan, and I see Korea joining in now, made some great stuff in that field. Yeah, of course. And then there's a bunch of great stuff, just like there's a bunch of great stuff that we've done in their fields. Like, it's all part of being part of the world, everybody. So that's kind of why I don't want to see American comics go away, and I would like to see people, the younger people, kind of get their, be more interested in it, for me.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like, I've always been a big proponent of the comic book store, the local shop, and I still really like single issues, you know, and I like collecting them, but I really enjoy reading them. I'm more of a reader than I am a collector. Like, the collector side of things comes as I get older, and I'm interested in, like, you know, finding more rare stuff, you know, but like, the only reason I got into comics was because of the stories. And I know a lot of people feel that single issues or the way these stories are told, there's such a barrier of entry in getting into these things. But I don't know, like because I a lot of the comics and a lot of the characters I love, I just jumped in. Like I just jumped in and like I didn't like I dived in. I dived in head first and just picked up the most recent issue of an X-Men comic or a Spider-Man comic and tried to, find where the arc began, and then you start to learn about different writers having different runs, and then trying to find where the run begins. And I don't know, it's like exciting to me. It's fun to me to like hunt these things down and to have conversations with people. But I know it can be very difficult to if you're someone who like wants to get all the tie-ins or wants to like get the entire event and every single ingredient of every story. I know it can be very difficult, but for certain runs and certain characters, it's not that hard to pick up a trade or an omnibus or a collection that tells the entire story from beginning, middle, and end.
And it's why mainstream comic writers, I think, kind of circling back around to where we started with your book, Manchild, mainstream
Yeah.
comic writers are some of the best writers around because
Yes.
they've
Yeah.
got to jump into a character and plan on a person like you and me who just jumps in the middle to get into comic. Like I'm just like you. I watched those cartoons growing up, and me and my dad went to a store and I picked up a random, Captain America book or X-Men book or whatever, and just started. And that's how it started.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
these writers have to be able to anticipate that in the middle of their story, somebody's going to jump in and try to just jump upon the train, holding onto the back while they're going 100 miles an hour and
Right.
keep up with them. And that's a skill that no other industry has.
Yeah, like the serialization and serial storytelling, like that's an art that is like so unique to comics. I mean, to keep things fresh and for what, like 80 years, like to keep these characters alive and to try to do new things with them. It's very difficult, but that's kind of what makes it fun, is like that challenge, of like, well, what are we allowed to do? What can we do? What maybe hasn't been done? Or can we, have some new characters that we can create, new villains for, like I know a lot of people are hesitant to do that because of the royalty situation in the mainstream and not maybe being compensated for creating new characters. But, the Winter Soldier, while it's Bucky, like that was a new version of the character, and like we could do things like that more often.
Yeah.
Where we, there's a lot of characters that have died in obscurity. One of my favorite writers, Jeff Johns, he was able to bring so many characters that people forgot about in his Green Lantern run and in other runs that he's worked on, and breathe new life into them, and just take old properties that DC Marvel already owns and make them some of the most exciting characters. And I think writers should dig into those things and dig into the lore and lean into that, lean into the history of the character, because it's a part of them. Like you can't escape it. Like I don't want, if I were to write a mainstream book, while I'd want a new reader to be able to pick it up, I don't want someone reading it and not get the sense of the legacy of who these characters are and what they represent. And there's so much there that, if I wrote a Batman book and it made you want to read a Frank Miller book, or like, well, what is he pulling from, or what is he alluding to, like what's he inspired by, like I would want you to do that. Like I want you to go pick up those books. So I think all of that is what makes comics so awesome, because you get to like dive into it and get lost in all these different stories.
Definitely. And speaking of comics being awesome, let's circle back around to seasons, because that was a really fun tangent. I'm glad we had it. But you've been really generous with your time, and I just want to be respectful of that. So 1 and 2 are on Kickstarter right now. You've done 1 and 2 as hardcovers, correct?
Yes. Hmm.
So are you going to do 3 and 4 as hardcovers, then come back with 3 and 4 as trades later on?
So my plan is whenever we launch the Kickstarter campaign for Volume 3, that is going to be a campaign for both a hardcover and trade paperback. So people are going to be able to get, both or either one. So for people who have the hardcovers, they'll be able to keep their collection uniform and the same. And then for people who pick up the trade, but yeah, people who do pick up the trade won't be waiting like that long to get the Volume 3 trade. So
That's great, yeah, because then you can kind of combine the two into one campaign down the line.
exactly,
Hopefully.
yeah, 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 and another reason why I wanted to do this campaign is not just because of wanting to put them in a new format, but it's because I sold out of the hardcovers. Like they're no longer available. There's a few Volume 2 hardcovers that I have on the campaign, but those are the last copies that I have. I have maybe like 10 or so, 10 or 15. So it was that, but also like, we wanted to continue the series, but there's no point in continuing a series if people can't pick up Volume 1, right? And so this campaign is for people who may have missed the boat, and it's our way to give people the affordable option to get in on seasons if they weren't able to before. And what's also so exciting about this is that Source Point Press picked up Seasons, and that is going to be a book that will be in the direct market in late 2026. So people will be able to get Seasons at their local comic book store or at their Barnes and Noble in about a year or so.
Very cool. So you're part of the kind of newly relaunched Source Point. That's awesome to hear.
Yes. Yeah. So, and if people are hesitant about that, or they're like, "Oh, I'll just wait for it to be in stores," like this is the only way that you can get some exclusive rewards, on this campaign. And like the variant covers, like those will not be available, at your local shop or anything. Like those are only going to be something that you can get through me directly. And we also have original art, and there's, a bundle with all my books that you can pick up as well on this campaign. So there's a lot of incentive there. It's also going to be cheaper to buy directly through this campaign than it will be through stores. So if you're looking to save, a few extra bucks, this is the way to go.
Which I'll say real quick, that's rare. Usually it's the other way around. And I know quite a few people who kind of say that, like, "Oh, I'll just wait for it to come to the store because I know it'll be cheaper then. I won't pay the Kickstarter fee."
Right,
as
right.
people like to say. So that's awesome to hear. So did they announce, and if you can't say, that's fine, but did they announce how they're going to distribute it? Is it going to be as graphic novels, or are you going to be chopping it up into issues?
Yeah, there'll be graphic novels, and so SourcePoint is exclusively only doing graphic novels. So all of their books that they put out are going to be they have to have a spine. That was something that I talked with Dirk Manning, the new publisher of SourcePoint, and that was something that we talked about and made sure that he's only interested in full length trade paperbacks, so or hardcovers, but and yeah, so these will be, both are over 100 pages. And this campaign is really to give us the ability and opportunity to have a large print run so that we can put these books in stores, and, also direct to customer as well. But with 2 more volumes on the way, we need to be able to have that back stock so that people who get in on volume 3 or 4 can still get volume 1.
That's really awesome. I'm glad to hear that for you. And the book looks like a ton of fun. Like I'm impressed by everything about it, from the design to the interior art to everything, man. And then you were talking about original art as kind of my quick ending. There's one cover that if I was a variant cover guy, which I'm not, if you can't tell, and please excuse me, but I'm going to butcher this man's last name. Luke Edenschnick. Schnick?
Luke Eidenschink.
Eidenschink. His cover is phenomenal for, I
Thank
believe,
you.
volume
Yeah.
one. And you have the original cover art here for sale. So everybody can. Oh, here we go. Yeah. I mean, look at that.
One to show it off.
And that one, for me, that cover really kind of dives into the manga influence you're talking about for the art in the book. So, but yeah, you have that as well as other covers and other stuff, original art wise, up there that people should definitely check out. So, I just think the book looks really cool. I guess before we wrap up, though, man, anything else you want to say about Seasons before we kind of do our outro?
Yeah, I mean, I want to let people know, like, this is a very, very entertaining read, but it also has a lot of deep themes in there, and very personal. You know, this is a very personal passion project. And you know, if you're someone who struggles with, you know, mental illness or depression, or someone who is feels directionless, like maybe you have all the pieces of your life together, but you still kind of feel like you're missing out on something, and not fulfilling your dream or your full potential. Like, this is what that story is about. It's about Fletcher being someone who is kind of left-footed, kind of an outcast, and is trying to integrate into the world, but is having a difficult time doing so. And he unlocks this ability to kind of see an unseen world, and to see things that other people do not see. And I know there are a lot of people out there who feel as though their voices are not heard, or they're invisible to the world. And Fletcher feels that way tremendously, especially in the first volume. And he starts in this really dark place in volume 1, and what I like to call the pit. And then volume 2, he's in the wilderness. And then volume 3 is about coming home. And volume 4 is about rebirth. So, like, the entire point of this story is to give people the roadmap, or a roadmap on how to look at their life, maybe in a way where they can see how they can use what they have to offer the world, and not only become a more well-rounded person, but to be able to be heard, and to not be invisible. And so a lot of those personal issues that I've struggled with are injected into this story. And I hope that people will be able to read it, and to see it, and to feel it, and, you know, have, you know, fun along the way. But it is very much a cerebral character study that hones in on what it means to not have the pieces of your life together, and to find those, and to try to create a full picture of the kind of person you want to be.
That's a great way to end the show, but I gotta say something else.
Sure.
I'll just say I love when I hear people talk about trying to talk more about depression, and in particular, everything I think you said there, most people have dealt with in some way in their life, and have and can definitely relate to. But depression for me is very personal, and I think particularly because I am a man, men's depression is something that's very important to me, because it's something that I've fought for my entire life. So
yeah,
I've
and
had
we're
my
told
struggle.
we're told not to talk about it.
Yeah, we're told not to talk about it. We're told to, you know, push it down and make it go away. And to see more people talking about it, I've tried in my way to talk about it too on my platforms, but is really great to see, just because I think it's really important for not just men, but obviously, like I said, I am a man, so it's important to me that more men talk about it.
Yeah,
because I've seen what we've had to deal with in that sphere. So I'm really happy to hear that you talk about that in this book a little bit more. That makes me a little bit more excited to read it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not to go on too long, but like Fletcher is someone who is estranged from his family. He's really hard. He's really difficult for him to maintain a relationship. He has a lot of guilt and he holds a lot of resentment, and he hates himself. He really hates himself in this book, and um, that to me is what makes him a character that I can root for, because I want to see someone break the cycle, and break those cycles and break those bad habits. And so, as we progress, we start in a really dark place, but as we progress through this year of this story, I hope people will be able to, see the light with him as he starts to see it as well. And, to me, if I could give people the language to be able to do that for themselves, like, my job, will be accomplished. I want to make cool, great comics while doing it, but all my stories start with a personal struggle or a cultural issue that I feel like I want to talk about, but I don't know how to. And stories, to me, are the best ways to do that.
100%. So as we get to the end here, do you do any social media, make any bad decisions like me on X, Blue Sky, stuff like that? Anywhere you want to send people?
Yeah, I do want to send people to my YouTube channel, Foxhole Comics. Please subscribe. I do live streams and I do video essays and update people there. But also, you can check out my newsletter, which is foxholecomics.substack.com. And usually I kind of have my YouTube channel and my newsletter in sync, but those are the best ways to kind of see what I'm up to. And then, you can follow me on X and Blue Sky and Instagram as well, at Nandor Fox. So I should be pretty easy to find, hopefully.
Well, I'll make it even easier for y'all. Go down the show notes down below. I'll have links. Most importantly, to the Seasons Volume 1 and 2 Kickstarter page, so you can all check out everything we talked about for yourself and hopefully back. And then also have links to the newsletter, YouTube, and I'll try to get all those social media accounts on there as well, so people can find you, check you out. So everybody out there, make sure you do that. Nandor, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man. Definitely, we're gonna have to do this again sometime. But for now, I just appreciate your time. And the book just looks really great. I look forward to backing it and checking it out for myself. And just best of luck with the rest of your campaign, man.
Thank you so much, Chris. This was an absolute pleasure. I'm kind of upset we haven't talked sooner. So this is really fun. And thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciate your time.
Hey, better late than never, I guess.
Right.